Sony is dropping the PSN account requirement on PC,
Nice.
but having one will unlock in-game content. Dude, there's always a catch. Tom Ivan over at BGC. PC players will soon no longer require a PlayStation Network account to play Sony's first-party games, but having one will now also unlock in-game extras. With the release of Marvel Spider-Man 2 on PC as of today, having a PSN account to play the game will be optional. That will also be the case with previous release titles such as God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, and The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, which will be released on April 3rd of 2025. However, Sony will now be offering in-game content unlocks to incentivize players to use PSN accounts, which also offer players trophies and friend management. Players with PSN accounts will receive the following benefits for Spider-Man 2 early unlock suits: the Spider-Man 2099 black suit and Miles Morales 2099 suit. God of War Ragnarok gets a couple. The Last of Us gets a couple. Michael, at the end of the day, probably a good move for Sony.
Yeah, I understand why they want people to play on PSN, why they want people to sign up for PSN. That all makes sense, but I'm glad they're finally realizing that, man, if you... For example, myself, I don't own a PlayStation. Been a couple games we've hopped on. It's just such a pain. I mean, obviously the game died for other reasons, but one of them, Concord, right? I remember you're like, all right, hop on. I'm like, okay. Oh, wait, I got to get a PSN. I've never made a PSN. All right, let me go sign up. Like, why do I need a PSN? I don't even own a PlayStation. I'm never going to play this game on PlayStation. I just want to be able to talk about it all the time, right? If you're on PC, you want to go to Steam, you want to hit play, and you want your game to open. I don't want to have to open another launcher. I don't want to have to sign in anywhere else. And finally, I mean, nearly killed Helldivers with this maneuver, right? The start of last year, Helldivers was absolutely popping off. They said, all right, everybody's got to go on PSN. And then it just completely dropped the ball. Everybody's like, all right, we're quitting. Finally, they turned things around. And that's not to mention that there's some countries that PSN just doesn't work in, right? You always see these people are like, yeah, I'm in this country. I can't play it because PSN doesn't work over here. So Sony, you're not letting me play your games. Smart decision by Sony. Sad it took them this long to finally figure it out, Drew. But finally, they're realizing, yes, it's nice to get your numbers bumped up, but it's nicer to have people playing your games.
Absolutely. That's the biggest thing, right? More people that have access to play the game, the better. I think this is why we're starting to see where Xbox is kind of going in their direction, being everywhere. That's a whole other topic. It's finally nice to see PlayStation pull their head up above water a little bit and say, hey, you know what, players, we're listening to you. No longer. Dude, like you say, you want to jump on Steam, hit the play button and go. Right now, I'm about to get into another game. I'll talk about it later time. I got to download their proprietary app. Like, dude, I'm like, why? I don't want it. I just don't. Dude, just let me hit the play button and away I go, right? That's part of being a console gamer for me. I jump in, click the icon, play my game. PC, dude, I'm on Steam, right? You just click your icon, you click that game title, and away you go. Don't make me jump into all these other outlets that I don't want to get into because I already have my ecosystem built and I don't want to add in another one or be forced into another maneuver, right? The less steps that I have to make to get into the game means I'm more likely to play that game. I think that stands for a lot of people.